Miss Sugar.
Either Megadeth or Dream Theater, depending on the day.
Faith No More.
Right now, I'd have to say Machine Head, but it varies depending on the day.
Wow. That's tough.
Right now, we'll say Old by Machine Head, but again, ask me tomorrow, it'll be a different question. It'll be a different answer.
Master Puppets.
Let's say Pull Me Under by Dream Theater.
Sign of the Trident of Satiricon.
Conductor's Departure.
Oh wow, yeah, I really like Anna the Conductor's Departure. That's, it depends on what day, right?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I don't know. I guess Life Cycle, because I put so much time into it, trying to figure out all this maze of changes.
Partly Cycles of Time, partly Earth of Fire. Just they're fun songs to play for me.
Bureaucratic Bullshit.
IPD. Well, I got started, I was like 13. Actually, I was probably taking piano lessons from the time I was like 5. And then at 13, I decided that the music that I like to listen to couldn't be played on the piano, so I bugged my parents to buy me a guitar, and been playing guitar since I was 13 and spending too much money on them.
I saw Metallica's One video on MTV. I'd never heard Metallica before then because I was sheltered, and just that riff and E at the end, just jam on that. I just figured I had to learn that, and I bought a crappy guitar and started playing.
We always had music in the house. My dad was always into like the heavier stuff. And, we used to be really big into Styx back in the day, and like the first 2 albums that were relatively heavy, if you can call them that. Okay, I guess not their first, but like Pieces of 8, and so I got into music that way to an extent, and then I learned to play cello in 3rd grade. We took that all the way up through high school, and then when I was in high school, I was really getting into metal, and I'm like, I tried to play metal on a cello, and it sort of worked, but it's just not the same, so I went from there. I do like Apocalyptica, they're really awesome, but that just wasn't the direction I wanted to go in. There is cello on the new album, by the way, if you listen to Life Cycle.
I guess the very beginning was air drumming in the back of the station wagon to Phil Collins. That was the very beginning. Then it was like, orchestra, band, marching band and all that.
Well, I met Jeff through, I can't remember if I responded to your Facebook or
Craigslist.
Yeah, Craigslist ad, or you responded to our ad.
I responded to your ad.
Okay, because it was another bass player and I were working together, and we actually wrote Life Cycle at that time, and then we were starting very. I don't think you started IPD yet, but anyways, so I met Jeff that way, and we worked together with this other bass player for a while. We had another guitar player that joined up afterwards. Those 2 guys split for various reasons, and then we put another ad out there. We were looking for a guitar player and bass player. And interestingly enough, I had other ads out, and none of them were really picking people up. And I put one out there saying, we all have kids, we all have jobs, we all have lives outside the band. We're not looking to make $1 zillion. And both of these guys ended up responding. And Joe's actually a guitar player. Talk about how you came in, if you want.
I responded to that for the rhythm guitar player. I hadn't played heavy metal in probably 10 years, just mostly because I got tired of being in bands that broke up, and just thought I'd give it a shot. 10 years is a long time to not play guitar steadily, so I didn't feel like I could do it, so Joe said, well, we also need a bass player, and so I tried that, and now I'm the bass player.
He's an awesome bass player.
I guess I responded to the same ad then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. I responded to the same ad on Craigslist, and I suppose, I just showed up. I had been in bands back and forth a lot. I just finished my law degree, so it was kind of hard to maintain that during law school because that was a pain. Same thing with these guys. It's obviously very difficult to keep members steady and showing up. So when I saw,
So don't rip off our stuff, or he'll sue you.
No, I just complain about things when I think it's not going right legally. But that's really neither here nor there. But yeah, I responded to the ad, showed up. Songs were cool. That's really the hardest part. It's easy to show up at places and then, oh, here, let's play this cover. Okay, you play a cover. But then it's like, when you hear them play their songs and they suck, it's like, well, I don't really want to learn these songs. But like, when they would show me, when Joe would show me like the stuff he had written and the stuff that was already recorded, and it was always like, well, this is really cool. Okay, this is fun to play. So it just kind of went from there. Because it was like, it wasn't like, oh, I gotta play this stupid song again. It was very much like, oh, I like this song. Oh, I like this song too. Oh, we could do something cool here. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
Up until the point where these guys all came in, and actually a majority of the new album was mostly written by me. Usually what happens is I'll come up with guitar riffs, and then I arrange things, then throw vocals on top of that, and leads. Bass parts historically have been written mostly by me. We did have John Offslager, who was in the band up until right before Joe came. He had written a few bass parts here and there, just to help me out. But for the most part, it was mostly me. I'd get a little bit of input here and there from other people that run a band. And then Ryan Mulholland, who was the original drummer, he helped with some of the arrangement and some tempo adjustments and things like that. So yeah, I wrote a majority of it over those times. Now, when we got to the new album, John and I primarily wrote Life Cycle. Jeff came in and wrote all the drum parts and helped us solidify some of the arrangements and stuff. IPD was primarily written actually by, I would say, Jeff and I. I think I wrote all the lyrics, most of the guitar pieces, and Jeff really helped nail down a lot of the arrangement and kind of support the song, so to speak. Cycles of Time was mostly Joe and I, and at that point now we actually had a full contingent of people available during the writing process, which was always a rarity for this band in the past. So, Joe really wrote a good chunk of that. I had like the two main riffs, and he brought ideas and kind of worked together there. Tom brought in some small piecemeal things here and there. The intro, I would say, I guess Jeff and I had that mostly written, but these guys provided additional input. With that being said, we are working on new material, and as we go, it's becoming more and more of a band effort as opposed to just me writing everything, which is it's really great. It's something that I think is really going to round out the band and make it a much stronger force than we had before. Usually music. Sometimes, like in Life Cycle, I did concept and music first. So, like for Life Cycle, I'm like, okay, I had like two riffs, and I knew that I wanted the song to go in this flow, and then I built riffs to backfill that flow, and then I built lyrics to fit the concept. But most of the time it's music and then lyrics. A lot of it to me is social, political type stuff, bureaucratic bullshit. That's a really funny story. A friend of mine, we were rebuilding his house that he had bought, and we had done an insane amount of work on this place. This place smelled so bad. When you were out in the street with the doors and windows closed, you could smell it. It was that bad. And by the time we were done, you could eat in the kitchen. I mean, it was a very nice house by the time we were done. Well, the inspector came by for him to get his use of occupancy permit, and he's nitpicking like all this stupid crap. He's like, you can't move in here because of these stupid things. And that was really the catalyst for that song. So it really made me pretty mad. It's like all this bureaucratic stuff in this house is perfectly safe and acceptable to live in. Mm-hmm. But had he not done anything, it would have been the same issue. So, Earth of Fire, once again, that's another one off the previous album. I was driving home from Oakland. I went to Pitt, and I I had heard about Russia selling nuclear warheads to whoever would buy them. Keep in mind, this is in like 1999, 2000 era, like not long after Russia had fallen apart and was really not doing that well. I guess 9 years, but you get the point. So that got me the idea of, well, if we get, you know, these crazy countries with like, you know, these weird extremists and stuff, and they get a hold of nuclear warheads, that could potentially trigger a whole world war. So that was the idea of Earth Afire. Plague is, we joke around, it's my mom's favorite song. It's basically a story about a kid who, you know, goes to school, starts getting picked on. They really rail on him real bad, and he doesn't understand why. He's like, why am I the one to get picked on? Why isn't other people? And eventually, the only solace he can find of being protected is to have a gun. So he brings a gun into school, these kids start messing with him, and then he just starts blowing people away. He snaps out, kills a bunch of people, and at the end he realizes that, oh man, what have I done? And he kills himself. To me, that song is kind of a reiteration of what happened at Columbine, and all that has a lot of personal meaning to me and stuff that I'm not going to get into. But so that's kind of the idea of those songs. You know, they all have some sort of personal trigger to me in some way, shape, or form. And it's not like yeah, we're a metal band, but we're not going to sing about like, you know, the same stuff that everybody else sings about. You know, like the generic, okay, we're going to kill, you know, everybody's going to die, or, you know, we're going to party, or whatever different aspects are typical to metal band. The new stuff these guys, you know, have helped a little bit, like in Cycles of Time. Tom had some really good input there. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
He was trying to figure out an idea of what to put in, and I was just like, well, why don't you talk about like history, how empires rise and fall, and history repeats itself, and you just kind of like, when I said it, I saw like a light bulb turn on, and he like was digging out his like civics books and stuff, like yeah, that's a good idea, and it just sort of, so that kind of just went from there. And I guess, I don't know, most of the new stuff just seems to be, it's a little bit all over the place. Obviously, Life Cycle was just sort of his idea of like from being born until he died, just going to kind of tell the whole story of somebody's life, and it was just like, okay, so that's obviously why it's 10. Hopefully that guy lived longer than 10 minutes. Yeah, it's a pretty long song, I guess, considering everything.
It's tough for me because, you know, historically being the primary writer, it's hard to keep it new and interesting. And honestly, the biggest thing to do that has been having the new guys in the band has been a big influence. Some of it has been trying to like expand out into different bands to listen to and stuff, but that's hard too, because you find a lot of stuff out there that just isn't that good, or you just can't relate to it. You know?
We're pushing them into the other stuff.
Yeah,
we push pretty hard. It works a little bit.
A little bit. I'm very stubborn. Some people call me elitist, but that also keeps the band. By having that outside influence is really good because it keeps things interesting. But also by having like that drive and vision, it kind of keeps it within the realm of what it is meant to be. So like you'll never hear us do a rap song, for example, even if like, you know, these guys really want to do rap. Like, we're not going to do rap because that's not what last one is.
We can't do a Limp Bizkit cover?
No Limp Bizkit covers.
Come back to me. Yeah, I don't know.
I like Peer Gynt's Suite is really cool. And another one that I really like was The Planets by Holst. I know it's not one piece, it's like a whole series. Those are pretty cool. There's a lot of neat stuff in there.
I'm a big film buff, and I love any of the classical music from film. Like John Williams is probably, you know, obviously the king of movies, but when it comes to classical, that's probably as close as I go.
Yeah, I'm kind of following along with Joe. I'd say probably like the Imperial March from Star Wars, maybe.
That is a good one.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. That's good. The theme from Game of Thrones. Other than that, I mean, it's not.
I got nothing. See, I'm kidding. I mean, you know, it really depends on the time of year, right? So, like right now, I'm really influenced by, Connie Peterson, the drummer for Anita, or Frost from Satiricon, or, Gene Hoglan from Fear Factory and all those 100 other bands he was in, I just kind of study what they're doing, and that really, it really influences how I play. I don't necessarily play exactly what they're doing, obviously. I just kind of steal things and try to figure out what the hell they're doing. That's it.
I think we all kind of do that, though. I know I'm a huge Megadeth fan, and Dave Mustaine, from way back in the early years of playing, was always a big influence for me, specifically for guitar, a little bit vocally, but mostly guitar. He does a lot of kind of technical things that are still jammable, so to speak, guitar-wise, and I really like that. Vocally, some of my biggest influences probably over the last 10 years have been like James LaBrie from Dream Theater. I really like John Arch, especially some of his solo stuff is just phenomenal. I can't sing like him, but I like it and try to apply that. And Ray Alder from Fate's Warning, I really like him as a vocalist a lot. A lot of that comes through a lot in the new album. Jeff Tate from Queensryche back during like the Operation Mindcrime era. Those are probably my biggest vocal influences.
Well, I'm only a bass player for about a year and a half, so guitar-wise was always Dave Mustaine for me as well. He seemed to, his playing just spoke to me. While he did solo work, he wasn't overly crazy with his solos. They were kind of meaningful. Some of the older stuff, at least, not really anymore. But actually, the biggest person I follow on everything he does is Mike Patton from Faith No More. Everything he does, I just listen to and amazed that he can come up with so many unique, different projects over the years.
For me, I'd have to say most of my playing is I steal it from James Hetfield, just all of it. Anything from down picking to just the way he would do his gallops and stuff. That was like my main and prime influence. Branch out a little bit from there. I actually really like. I'm a big Slipknot fan. I think Jim Root and Nick Thompson are incredible players, and I like a lot of what they do. Now I think it's a very big meld. Takes from like what Metallica would have done, and then tunes it down and puts on a mask and makes it evil. So I like that a lot. And then I'm a big Machine Head fan, so I can appreciate how Rob Flynn he's not a real technical player, but everything he plays is like real clean and real just precise. So I can really appreciate that, and it stays heavy. So it's kind of where I try to be as far as a player.
Well, I'd say first off, the Slave to Time album, buy it. It is very good. We put a lot of work into it. We've got some new equipment that we obtained for that album that has really made the audio quality better. You can get on the website, www.lastwillmetal.com. You can buy the CD there. You can buy MP3s of it there if you want to go that route. If you come to any of our shows that we have, we will always have that available for sale there. Any of us, just come to any of us, we'll have them available. If you run into us in the street or something. I definitely recommend it, obviously. I mean, it's our band. I'm very happy with the album. I think the rest of us are also really happy with it. The new material we're starting on, we just started probably this month working on the song Last Will, which has been something I've almost made it onto incompletion, but there were holes in there that at the time, I felt we had enough material, and I didn't want to rush that song because there's a lot to it, as these guys can attest to. So we're taking it now and filling those holes, adding some input from everyone, and really adding to that. And with the coming into the world of Tom's Child here in the next couple of weeks, that's going to put a little change on things. And since we're not really going to be able to play shows, we feel it's a good time to bring ideas to the table. We all four of us, have different ideas and things that we'd like to include as songs or pieces of songs or things. So we're going to kind of go into a writing mode here, at least over the next month or so, and focus on that. Try to get some song concepts together.
I think everyone would agree, though, to put it concisely, it's probably going to be a little heavier than this last one. I think that's an accurate statement.
I also think this is going to be the album that's all four of us. Even though the last album had all of us playing on it, Tom and I came in. Half of the songs were already written. Actually, most of the songs were already written except for one. And so now this album's going to be us.
Yeah, big collaboration.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
I also think it's going to move a little quicker because there's all four of us working on it, as opposed to Joe having to just kind of write a song and then sit down and write another song. I think a lot of stuff. I guess 14 years you put together. How many songs were on? 10.
Yeah, about 10 or 11.
So you figure 15 songs in 14 years, and I feel like at this point it might take us maybe a year and a half to kind of get everything written and down. But we'll have 9-10 songs that'll have been done from beginning to end in a year, as opposed to whatever.
And I
song.
I can tell you, hearing some of the ideas that everyone's brought to the table, it's very impressive stuff. There's a lot of tweaking that always happens in the writing process, but there's no concerns for me of someone bringing something to the table that just sucks. I mean, everyone's really strong in what they brought to the table, and I really like what they have. And obviously, the stuff that I've done in the past as well. So it's a really strong group of guys that we have right now. I'm very confident in what we have. I don't want to speak too much for everybody else, but we all feel like we're on the same page. We all feel like we're pretty happy doing what we're doing, and so I think that's going to be a big help for the next album. And yes, it will be a little heavier than this last one. Buy the new album and come to our shows. We need as much support as we can get. It's hard getting people to come to metal shows in Pittsburgh. It's hard enough setting a metal show up in Pittsburgh. So please come to our shows, support the bands,
And buy things.
and buy things.
Buy things.